Welcome to Tell the Damn Story, the show that explores the many ways to navigate the successes and failures that aspiring and struggling writers face to make your journey that much easier.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Tell the Damn Story, the show where we all talk about how we do what we do to make it easier for you to do what you do. I think that was coherent.
Yeah, I don't know what they did. What did they done do? Okay.
I'm Chris Ryan. I do a bunch of stuff. Alex Simmons, he's over there. He does a bunch of stuff. And today we have the ultimate honor of chatting with the one, the only, the quickly becoming legendary Rebecca Cuthbert. Hello, Rebecca. How are you?
Hi, guys. I'm great. Thank you for having me back on.
Yet again.
Always a joy.
Yes. It's 2 tons of fun.
Rebecca, what we'd like to do is just kind of start. So many of our audience members are either emerging writers or writers who are coming up and trying to figure it out as we all do. And you have figured out things so much, and you're so busy. We'd love to start with just kind of saying, all right, what have you done and what are you working on in 2025? Because it's been a pretty fruitful year for you. So
busy for sure. So in January, my 5th book was published. It's called
Which
6
one was
O'Clock
that?
House and Other Strange Tales. And it's sort of quiet horror, magical realism, weird tales, strange tales. And that's been a lot of fun. So I've been trying to get that out there, promote that book. I am also working on a new poetry collection. I have one poetry collection out in the world, a chapbook size collection called In Memory of Exoskeletons.
Beautiful.
And this, in a way, is a follow-up to that, but the poems are a little bit different.
Can I just ask one quick thing? Because you never know. Some folks, believe it or not, there are some people in the world who've never heard the show before and have never met Rebecca. So, Rebecca, could you just give us like a little brief mini bio of yourself?
Sure. I am someone who used to write a lot. I got an MFA in fiction. Life took me away from it for a while, but I was always teaching creative writing. During the COVID lockdown, I stared at the wall with everyone else and, like everyone else, asked myself what I was doing with my life and what I wanted to do with my life. And I realized I really missed writing and I wanted to get back into it all the way, like throw myself into it all the way. So I was in a couple of virtual writing groups. I took every class. I went to Q&As, whatever I could find. And I started submitting, and good things have happened since.
Excellent. And you also teach at a university, don't you?
Yes, I'm in my first week back to classes at SUNY Fredonia in Western New York. So teaching creative writing and literature this semester.
So you're a writer and a professor of literature and writing, teaching writing as well. So that's a handful. That's a handful.
Well, wait a minute, Alex. We haven't finished the resume.
Oh, we haven't? What else does she do, Chris?
There is a bit of, some may call it gardening, but when I see what she pulls out of the ground, I would say at least small-time farming, because Rebecca grows a lot of stuff and she cans, and makes jams and not hot sauce, but salsa.
And pickles.
And pickles, all this, and we'll have to talk about that. And also, when she's not doing the other 40 things we just mentioned, she also is dedicated to the animal world. So, Rebecca Cuthbert, hero for multiple species.
Thank you.
And in the middle of all that, you have this passion for writing.
Yes, and I started a press with a couple of people.
I forgot about that, yes.
So that's another, sort of quadrant of the way I spend my time. So I am the editor-in-chief for Undertaker Books. We're a small press. We have existed now for about 1.5 years. We're having a lot of fun. We're trying to do a good job. and we're very excited about the books we've put out and the books that we are going to put out.
Excellent. Excellent. So
We
she
have
doesn't do
to,
much, Chris. That's really what it comes down to. She's
well, we have to ask because, at this point, Rebecca Cuthbert is challenging the laws of physics. So how do you get all that in 24 hours, in 7 days, and in a month, in a year? How's all that happen?
I don't. It's more like throwing one plate up in the air and then trying to wash one and get it dried and put away before the other one falls back down.
No.
Like today, for example, I had my weekly writing session with my buddy John Gensler.
I know John.
And in that, I started a new poem, got kind of carried away with that poem, but I do have jam on the stove. So that's on the list for today, is going to get some jam done. And I also am working on some things for Undertaker. So I'm proofreading some blog posts, and I was resizing a cover and things like that, sending emails.
So there's a theory that creatives have to fuel their creativity by other activities, other hobbies, other passions. Is, which comes first, the chicken or the egg, right? Does the editing and the blog posting and the social media, does that feed the writing, or is it more the gardening, farming, take care for the animals? Does that feed how does it work for you? How does the energy flow? Or is it like everything everywhere all at once?
I do feel like I'm a chaotic person and I need to stop fighting that. So there's that, but I do get a lot of inspiration from being outside gardening, taking walks with my husband. But today's poem, for example, I saw just a wild story that someone posted to social media of a 73-year-old woman who got a CT scan, and the doctors found like a 30-year-old calcified fetus inside of her. Her body had replaced the flesh of the fetus with calcified material, essentially like creating this stone fetus inside of her. And that is tragic, of course, and
Sure.
bizarre, and also like feels like magic, even though it's not, but it seems like magical realism. So that is what inspired the poem I'm working on today.
Yeah.
so
I find
life.
the news.
Life is inspiration for you.
Yeah, a lot of news stories, sometimes weird, sometimes the main stories
Mhm.
of the day. I mean, they've fueled a lot of the work that I've done this year. But yeah, God bless you. And I love the idea of a chaotic person, which is very different than a chaos person, which doesn't have any control and it's just like a hurricane wherever they go. You feel like you're chaotic. I would suggest that, or I would interpret that as your energies and your passions are multifaceted. And
Yes.
that's what generates energy for you.
Yes.
Isn't
And
that
this
what
is,
neurons do?
Yeah, she's a neuron. That's what
Yeah.
she is. Rebecca Neuron Cuthbert. That's who she is, ladies and gentlemen.
I was thinking the other day about, so some authors have their like private social media pages and then they have author pages.
Yes.
And I will never be coordinated enough, first of all, to run two accounts on every platform. But also, I just think there are too many parts of myself that all overlap, you
Right.
know? Why wouldn't I want my readers to know that I also garden? Like there's nothing to hide, and it's all my life and it all goes into my writing. It's all relevant to everything else. So I haven't made that move. I don't think I will.
Yeah. See, I think I would argue, if you were saying I'm going to go that way, that one of the things that creates that very unique Rebecca Cuthbert charm is that from post to post, I never know where you're going to be, but it's always positive, kind, thoughtful, and passionate, right? Even when you're ticked off at something, I love the positive phrasing that goes into that. And all of that, I think, creates a persona. I mean, it's very very much your real persona that is very relatable. And I think that's one of the reasons, one of the many reasons, and your talent is not to be excluded there, but it's one of the reasons why I think connections are made by you, and friendships, and that web of community, because you just feel like a community person. It has been it has inspired me to try and share a little more of who I am and that kind of stuff. So yeah, I think that the way you do it is fantastic.
So
And there's
you're
a million ways to do it. Damon Manx, he has that love of music, so he's always asking a music question every day. And that's how he made his persona and gained his following. Do you find that what you do on social media adds to your audience and helps the sale of your writing, perhaps?
Well, I think in a way it does, because my first readers were my friends.
Yeah.
I think that first book, the poetry collection I published, strangers eventually read it, but probably the first 50 readers of that book were my friends, so I wouldn't want to post something my friends couldn't see, about books and such. But I also think that people don't want to be bombarded with constant ads,
Right.
like when they feel like all you're doing is pushing your books. I don't think people really engage with those posts. I don't think they don't care about them in the same way. Like this morning was very embarrassing because I got into a fight with my orange cat over my bathrobe and my phone.
That's a great opening line.
It was so ridiculous, and I'm laughing and I'm trying to get things away from him. And I look down and I see that he's called someone.
I was gonna say, who was he calling? Yeah, okay, so yeah.
It was someone who I don't know well enough to immediately text after, but I did send an apology email. I don't know if it rang through to the other side or if I caught it in time. But like, that's my life. That's what happens. And everyone is making my embarrassment feel a little lighter because they're all sharing their orange cat stories.
So
Somebody's orange cat turns the TV off, somebody else's will shut off an alarm.
so your persona becomes also your platform.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
Bumbling human.
Let me sort of use that to segue, because I know I really want to hear about, because you mentioned poetry several times and you mentioned in the green room too, so I really want to get back to that too in a moment. But I'm curious, you again, in giving some of the newcomers and maybe some of the ones who've been here once but don't quite remember, some of the material that you've covered in your stories has been horror, right? And then you've done other material. So you've done horror. What else have you done? And then how did you get into poetry? And that would open up the door to this conversation you want to have about your latest project.
Okay, as far as like what I write, it's everything, but I would say that it falls on the darker side of poetry and fiction. I don't write a lot of like cutesy stuff. I have written picture books and they're spooky. I write poetry, I write fiction. I've done a little bit of nonfiction, an essay here and there, but
You did something with Chris. Was
yep.
nonfiction.
And then Chris asked me to do a nonfiction book, so I said, yes, let's do it, and we did. So that's out there, and I'm hoping to talk him into another project in the future.
Yes.
Because
okay, let's tick that off. Check that off.
It's on the to-do list.
Yeah.
There's our book. And that was a really fun book to put together.
It was really fun. And the origin of that goes right back to your charm, because I have 50 or 60 how to write books, but I couldn't find a how to be a writer, right? All the other things, let's say away from the keyboard, right? You did touch a little bit on that, but all the other things. And I said, God, who would write that? And I think it was the next time I was on social media, I saw something from you and I was like, Becca Cuthbert is perfect. And I know it was fairly early in your publishing career, but I said, let me just see. And Alex, I asked her if she'd be interested. And by the time I finished taking the next breath, there were 13 or 14 ideas that had flown out. Right? I think it was texts or emails or something like that back and forth.
Started a Google Doc and started putting in ideas for chapters.
Yep. So I was like, I guessed right.
Yeah, right person, right time.
And it's a really fun read, but it's also really informative.
About
Everything else about being a writer, like how to put yourself out there, how to like go to whether it's a small local show or a convention, how to go up to complete strangers and say, hi, how you doing? Or want to see this book, what do you think? Asking for blurbs or asking for reviews.
testimonials.
Just
Yeah,
all those different aspects. And that's why I think the book is so important, because it fills a need that's not out there otherwise.
great.
And
So,
now
so,
17 people will do the other one.
so you were saying, Rebecca.
I was saying that I write in several different, let's say, like I write on the dark side, makes me sound like something from Star Wars, but
It's okay. We can live with that.
yeah. So horror, weird tales, magical realism,
Okay.
urban fantasy, the novel I finished recently with horror elements, and the poetry that I'm writing now has a thread of fairy tales, folklore, mythology in it. And there are a lot of narrative poems, like a lot of little stories, a lot of weird little stories. And I'm having a ball with it.
Do you
Why?
have a title yet?
I do. It is called A Curse Thrown from the Hanging Tree. That is also the title of one of the poems, and it is about witchcraft.
Why did you sort of embark on this journey?
Poetry for me, I don't want to say it's like accidental, but I do tend to write poems without intention usually. So my first poetry book is a collection of poems I wrote over 10 years, because when I needed a break from a fiction project or something, I would write a poem. I would write a draft of a poem because I could write a draft of a poem and kind of have that gratification of finishing something. And it was just a draft, right? But it's like sat down for 10 minutes and I wrote a draft of a poem. And a lot of them got published here and there. And so I collected all of those, and those were my first book. These ones I am writing with a bit more intention, in that I knew I wanted to do another one. So been kind of looking around for inspiration and noticed those themes kind of coming together in the ones I did have. So this time I do mean to write another collection, but the poems I've been writing for the past couple of years too, a bunch of them have been pulled into this as well. And when I wrote those, I wasn't planning on doing a collection. So I think that for me, poetry collections will just happen as they happen. When I notice myself accruing poems I like, maybe find a couple of common threads and then write some more.
I have a question, and I could throw this to both of you. I have, over the decades that I've been in existence, Chris likes to talk about my age. I have known people who all they write is poetry. And they do spoken word or they do poetry readings and things like that, and their whole thing is poetry. And then I've known people who have moved in and out of poetry, and then there are others who have done different books, different genres and whatever, and then at some point have a little off to the side, a little notebook with some poems that they wrote in it. why poetry? What speaks to you about poetry? And as I said, this can be both of you. What speaks to you in that voice? What attracts you to it? What do you feel makes it different from the other writings that you do?
For me, it is poems are like a Polaroid picture. So it captures one idea, it captures a couple of images. The narrative ones capture a little story that can be told in 10 stanzas or whatever. Things that maybe wouldn't work long form, maybe there's not enough to them to write a story. That Witch poem that I mentioned, I wrote that with an assignment, which, by the way, a lot of these are assignments too. I love an assignment. Chris gave me one, recently when he was putting together another episode of Soul Scream, and he wanted near future apocalypse type stuff. Where could we be in 5
New
years,
horror stories
realistically?
based from current events. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I had an idea before, and I kind of spun it a little bit and was able to write something that fit. But I've gotten a lot of anthology invitations this year, which is very fortunate. And those are homework assignments. They give you the pieces and you've got to work with them. And I like that. It's a challenge, but it's interesting. And that witch poem came about because my press was putting out an anthology called Judicial Homicide. And so mob mentalities, the death penalty, things like that. And the proceeds for it go to the Witness to Innocence Project. And my coworker, one of my partners, D.L. Winchester, had already bought the cover for it. He loved this. It's like it's this very stark cover. It works really well for the theme. And it has a noose on it. And he said, "Oh shit, Rebecca, I don't have any stories that have anything to do with hangings in this anthology, but I have this cover." And bumbling human that I am, I said, "Oh, that's not a big deal. Just have someone like write a poem to open the anthology with." And I had apparently assigned myself homework because he said, "Oh, I know someone who writes poems." And then I got really carried away with it because I was having so much fun with this historical folklore voice in it.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's a third person narrative voice, but it takes us back, a few hundred years. And man, I just had fun with that one. It ended up being pages long, but I think that is kind of what ended up taking me in this direction for the poetry collection I'm currently building. That like sense of folklore that we have a witch there. And I have some more witch poems actually in my collection. I've got some poems inspired by the Penelopiad, Penelope, Odysseus's wife,
Oh.
and everything that happened there. There's gardening stuff in there as well. But I don't remember what the original question is, but that's
In
how
1847, no.
yeah. But that's how that one poem came about, and that's how a lot of things have been happening recently, is that someone has been giving me a theme or a prompt or a set of instructions, and I work with those.
And you intimated here or suggested or flat out said it, that it seems that like with the piece that you started with as an intro to the book, a character began speaking in this way, and it became fun for you, and you became involved with that character. Another remark you made suggests that this world is beginning to form. You said other witch stories, and so I'm starting to see this coven of stories formulating in this world. So literally the some sort of sense of, like with anything else, I guess, that most writers work on, you become involved in the world or the characters, and you are inspired to move forward, not necessarily with a single plot, but with the individual plots of those particular poems. Is that, am I close to what you were saying?
With some of them, yes. Other ones, I was given a formal challenge at a convention I went to recently. So I went to Imaginarium, it was in Kentucky. And I had a bunch of friends who were supposed to go, and they all canceled for one reason or another. But I already had jobs to do there. I was on some panels. I was interviewing Steve Alton, the author of the Meg books. And I was like, I'm gonna go. I'm still gonna go. I don't need friends. And
You don't need no stinking friend.
I didn't need no stinking friends. So I went and I was just like a student, sort of. You know, I just sucked up everything I could from all the other panels, wrote a bunch. I filled my notebook and had to go over to Kroger and get another one. I filled the one I had. And I went to this great poetry workshop. And I'm feeling terrible that I don't have the woman's name to hand because she did such a great job. And maybe I do. Hang on.
We're hanging.
Erin Crittenden, because she gave me a little notebook. Erin Crittenden had this awesome poetry workshop where she gave us all these formal structures. A disdain, a nonette, things that had sometimes certain word counts per line. A nonette is 9 lines, and you can either do a nonette or a reverse nonette. So 9 words, 8 words, 7 words, 6 words, 9 lines. So your last line can only be 1 word.
Mm.
And so I wrote in the workshop a terrible draft of a poem about a garden hermit, that back in the day you could hire a hermit to walk silently around your garden. And that was just really fun. And then and these were all revised, you know, and fixed up. And then the disdain I wrote ended up being a choose your own adventure poem where you can skip to different lines, and it's just fun, you know, like having a challenge is fun.
Great, great, fantastic, fantastic. I'm sorry, Chris, I sort of rolled through there for a moment there. Did you have something you want to pursue?
Well, you had asked both of us. I'm only now starting to do homework assignments and a work in progress, and um, if it comes to fruition, then we'll have Rebecca back on, and we'll talk about it in more detail. But
Julian disdains, yeah.
well, it's she inspired me to get back to it. I've been kind of fixating on this fiction novel I'm working on, but I had been doing this as an exercise every morning while my tea was boiling. And like you said with disdain, I just got a book of poetry terms and poetry structures, and it's in alphabetical order. I don't care. And I just go and I read them, learn from them, and then every second or third or fourth one, it hits me, and then the writing starts. And we'll see. I when you were talking about the noose poem, everything that I've written in 2025 or that I've published in 2025 has been to some degree a reflection of the charged air of current events. It's been a privilege, is pretty well disguised, but influenced by that. And then America, we need to talk, no disguise. You know, Fear and Loathing, there was very little disguise. As a matter of fact, the cover features Uncle Sam holding a world on fire. I don't seem to be able to get away from that because everything's still ongoing. So there'll probably be more from there. This morning exercise that I'm doing,
The
some of
poetry
them are like
exercises,
that.
right?
Some of them are just, well, sometimes it's about a potato, whatever, right? So yeah,
Whatever Chris and I do next, sometimes it's a potato. It's got to be a chapter heading.
that's a pretty good heading.
Sometimes it's just a potato.
I tell you what, Rebecca Cuthbert's chapter titles, especially in Creep This Way, should be sold as a set of coffee mugs because they are great.
Get to it.
Was it Be Thankful, Not Satisfied? That was one of them. Man, if that does, We just got to market the.
Like I said, get
Go
to
to
it.
T
Yep.
Public or something and make a series of them.
T-shirts
But
and teacups.
yeah, man.
T-shirts and teacups. There you go.
I need a bigger staff, is what I need.
Mhm.
I need.
That or your
Bebop
dog needs to work harder.
Baruta there. I don't understand why you need more people.
Well, the dog. I was leaning before because he was having a nightmare. He's a really good security officer, I'll tell you. You were saying we spoke over you there, Rebecca. What was that?
I said that your dog needs to work harder.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he's the only one left. The two cats are downstairs on permanent vacation. They've decided enough
They
with the
quit.
humans.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
you
editors
know,
quit.
not that Isabella ever did any work anyway, but yeah. And my security officer just abandoned me because Glorious came home. So,
Yeah. Hey,
you
he knows where
there
his
you go.
his bread is buttered. Um,
So let's
again,
get back to Rebecca
yeah,
Cuthbert.
my overall question, just to remind everybody, was why poetry? What is it about poetry that speaks to you? And again, in particular, because both Rebecca and Chris have done other genres and other style of writing. So I was just curious why the poetry, because it really
I
does seem. I've known Chris for 100 years, and Rebecca for about three, 2 or 3,
2 or 3, yeah,
and I've watched the material
yeah.
begin to sort of
Well,
expand, and I'm noticing the poetry pull. So that's why I was curious why poetry.
I'm gonna give a quick answer, and because I want to see if it's a similar experience for Rebecca or if she has a completely different answer. I have to admit that I don't read a lot of poetry. I like Charles Bukowski. I like him. I don't like his lifestyle, but I like his bare bones, very direct poetry, and I think you can see some of that in my poetry. However, I hadn't written a word of poetry since college, and it snuck up on me. And in a span of less than 6 months, maybe 4 or 3 months, 2 full books exploded out because those expressions had to be in that format. That's my only explanation.
Mm.
Rebecca, is that similar? I'm sorry, or different
Bless
for you?
you.
Bless you. I have had things cross genre in the revision process. Bless you. I wrote in this upcoming collection that fingers crossed will be accepted by the press I sent it to. One of the poems is called The Witch and the Rose. And that started as 100-word piece of microfiction. And it just didn't quite work. And so I put it in a different form and did some adding and changed what happened. And as a poem, it works. I don't know why some things have to be a poem and some things have to be a story. I guess that's why I'm writing a lot of narrative poetry, because I don't really have to decide. Oh.
Yeah.
I think that's sort of an interesting peek into the world of creativity. I think some people are organically pulled to a particular genre or writing style or form, and I think others find themselves exploring their creativity. It's to me, it's almost similar to someone who loves passionately dance and may have been trained in one form, but discovers movements of another and begin to sort of incorporate that into their body of work and their movements. Yeah, because for instance, what was it Gregory Hines, remarkable tap dancer, remarkable, but a lot of his moves he took from different forms. And there's a film that he did with Baryshnikov, which I cannot remember the name of the film anymore. It was done years ago.
White Knights.
Maybe, maybe. And they dance together. And again, you see where one has influenced the other. Somewhere in the rehearsal point or the choreography point, they began to say, what do you do? Oh, well, I do this and you do. Oh, maybe if we do. And it's just, you're seeing this marvelous blending of forms because it's all dance. And I think in the way of writing, just like some artists, we had Julie Bell on, she does remarkable realistic paintings about fantastic scenarios, and she's incorporating lions with butterflies and blending those forms together. I think again, it's sometimes we limit ourselves and we tell ourselves, oh well, I must be writing westerns or horrors or love stories or whatever because that's probably what I should be doing. But if you feel that call to explore another form, why not?
Mm.
And I think it's really interesting the way you two have done that.
I
Well,
think a lot of people get
that's
caught up in the branding, like this
Mm,
idea of branding. And I'm not saying that branding doesn't work, and I'm not telling people that they shouldn't do it, right? But like, if you do one thing enough to develop that thing into your brand, so the thing you are known for, you might find it hard then to break out of that.
typecasting.
Judith Sonnet is this wonderful author, and she used to write a lot of extreme horror. Recently, she's gotten into some other things, and people keep messaging her like, when's your next extreme horror book coming out? And she's like, well, it's not, but I've got this quiet horror, you know? And so I think that people want to do more than one thing. And I really resisted the idea of a brand because I don't want to have to ever say that I do one thing.
Mm.
I don't
right.
ever want to feel restricted by it. Like in 5 years, I might be writing cozy mysteries. I don't know.
If
That's
I
one
could
thinker.
comment on that, I think Rebecca, your persona is your brand in that there are so many different things that you have passions for. It supports you writing in different genres as well. I think a lot of people who go to a Rebecca Cuthbert a publication, you go to see what's up. And there are a few really cherished creators who do that. You're not alone. You know, Spielberg, King can write anything he wants. Joe R. Lansdale is you know, his range has been not as wide as say Spielberg or King, but he can do anything. And you go because you want to see or want to read or experience a Lansdale story because of how you post. And a lot of in 2025 in the 2020s, a lot of people find their authors. Oh, who's this person? She's a writer too. Oh, she's so interesting. I want to see what you know, and so I love that everything you do kind of supports everything you do. With it's a non-branding brand.
Yeah.
That's my
Yeah,
that's my argument.
it's a golden corral buffet.
There you go.
So
Well, I think of it as also holistic in a way because it is really who you are. And subsequently, people come to know you through your persona, either meeting you as Rebecca, the nice woman down the street who's always in the garden, or Professor Cuthbert, or Rebecca the writer, Rebecca Cuthbert, who does horror films, or who does this, who does not horror films or horror books, and so, or Rebecca who does book, whatever it is, it's Cuthbert's work, and that's what they're attracted to, and I think that's cool. And I also said to Chris regarding, and I've read a lot of Chris's work over the years I've known him, and he does some really good stuff, but I still feel very strongly that even though Simple Rebellion was very powerful and unfortunately prophetic. And some of the Soul Scream material and America's We Gotta Talk is very powerful and political or personal in certain ways. It's Been a Privilege is absolutely the best Chris Ryan I've ever read. And I see this is a
Cover
plug.
by Rebecca Cuthbert.
Shameless plug for Chris. Yes. And Rebecca does covers too. Cuthbert's covers. So, again, I think that part of the exploration of creativity is finding your voice, and in some cases, even with different instruments.
Yeah.
And I think, you guys have, I could be talking about myself a little bit too, because I've done more than one thing creatively over the years. And I've never enjoyed the idea of being told you can't do that because you do this.
yep.
Now, I will say, and I'll say this for the audience in particular, as we three rebels are sitting here on our Harleys, with our motorcycle boots and our bandanas, there is some argument to be said for personal versus promotional.
Right.
Promote, finding the way to promote. If you're doing a business, if you're doing your artistry as also a business, finding the best way to promote that so that you still get the attention you need, you still get the sales that you need, you still get the testimonials that you need. That is a part of the quest. And however successful you are with that is going to seriously impact on your income generating possibilities. So we who have accepted that we are this amalgam of things also have to wrestle with that, how best to promote professionally what we do so that we can, maybe it's not our main bread and butter, but can make the hustle also pay off.
My hustle is not paying off yet, except it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'll second that emotion.
Okay, we'll break into song later.
Yep.
Yeah. The small press or indie press, I'm like a micro press, does allow the members of that company, Rebecca, you and your partners, me, myself,
Undertaker
and
Press,
I,
is it?
Undertaker
Press,
books. Yep.
Undertaker
Undertaker
Books,
Books. Yeah.
like Undertaker Books or Seamus and Nunzio Productions. It allows you as the company to put out what you're passionate about, as opposed to a bigger company that does, as they become successful, it becomes a limitation because they want to duplicate or triplicate that success. Since we haven't had some runaway success that changed our economic lifestyle, we don't feel that pressure yet. And I think that allows for us to take different creative chances. Do you agree, disagree? Do you have a comment with that?
I absolutely agree because I know that there are things we've taken at Undertaker that no one else has taken. And I should say that our business model is a little bit different because the three of us used to work for a press. So it's myself, DL Winchester, Cyan LeBlanc. We used to work for another press that went down, and we felt frustrated with some of the things done, some of the ways authors were treated. And we said, well, we could do this. We could do this better. We could treat people well and have a lot of fun too. And we all had a similar work ethic. We're all workaholics, frankly. And so we got together and we started a press, and we wanted to do what we wanted to do. So DL loves Appalachian horror. He loves Western horror. So we put that out. Cyan LeBlanc loves LGBTQ plus horror, and we put that out. I love gothic stuff, ghosty stuff, all kind of stuff. We put that out. We put out The Nut House by Patrick Barb. And it is sort of like Watership Down, but much more disturbing. So
great, what a great tagline.
It's wild. I recommend it to everyone because it's a group of it's squirrels and a chipmunk, and you wouldn't think you'd get so caught up in it, but oh my gosh, you really do.
What's the title again?
It's called The Nut House.
Cool.
And that's so fun. And we're doing another experimental novella. We have another one in our queue right now. And these wouldn't have gotten taken by other presses because they're weird and they might not sell. And some presses love that, and the bigger places don't seem to.
It's a trade-off. It's a different kind of freedom.
Yeah. And so it's really fun to be able to have an idea and just run with it. DL recently wanted to do novelettes, and we're calling them Graveside Reads. And they're small, like this journal, they're going to be stapled, down the middle, and they're going to be inexpensive to buy. And we're going to publish batches of them, now and then throughout the year. And it's something he wanted to do. And the next day he did it. You can't do that at a small press, or I'm sorry, you can't do that at a large press. That's something you can only do at a small press.
I love it.
I think I want to clarify so you don't get inundated with pitches what your policy is for Seamus and Nunzio, since neither Seamus nor Nunzio works for the production. They just inspire it. And it's just me. I kind of do just invitation only because I just can't handle a thousand deep slush pile. It's, So how does Undertaker Books
How do you approach them?
Well,
clarify so you don't
there's
all of a sudden get a bunch of Nut House 2,
yeah,
the
there's
Acorn
what we
House?
planned and then there's what we do. So those are a bit different. So DL loves anthologies too, and he does open call anthologies.
God bless them.
Absolutely, because I don't help him. And with every anthology he does, he's getting more submissions. So I think for the last anthology, he got over 200. And
It's a
he
lot to
reads
read.
all of them,
The whole story.
He
all
loves
of
reading.
them.
He loves
Wow.
reading, man.
Wow.
And our anthologies are getting better and better because we are attracting more and more authors, and we're really like, we have some wonderful talent coming to us. When we opened, we joked that we should be called Rescue Press because when we opened with a full catalog, picking up authors that had been disappointed by other presses or other presses had closed, fallen through, disappeared, whatever. And so we were immediately full. We started full. The first book we published was Inkvine by Eliza Broadbent, and it's fantastic, fantastic. Mm-hmm. And we built a good reputation quickly. We were really fortunate that way that people came to us and said, hey, so-and-so said they like you, would you consider this? Or sometimes it was a friend. Right. Rebecca, I can't find a home for this because it is too weird. Can you check it out? And so we had planned to have an open submissions period. We have not been able to do it yet. We're full into 2027.
Yeah.
Woo-hoo. And some of it is because we love our authors. And right. So like C.M. Saunders, he writes Western horror. Right. So his first book with us was Silent Mine. He did a little novelette, A Christmas Cannibal, for us at Christmas time. We just put out Blood Lake. And so our calendar is already half full with the authors we're happy to keep publishing if they want to keep publishing with us. So yeah, it's tough because at StokerCon, I had a lot of people approach me and ask if we were open, and we are not.
Yeah. It's one of the realities of the industry in that it's more and more impossible to get into the bigger ones, even the mid-list. And then the smaller ones, they fill up quickly with stuff they love because there is so much out there.
Yep. That
is, for lack of a better term, and I don't mean to be horrible about this, but it's homeless, Mm-hmm. The Soul Scream Anthology was created to honor community. And the idea was I'm going to do a big open call, and just doing the people I was really interested in seeing work from and seeing how it would fit together, I overwhelmed myself. The first 3, not the Christmas one, but the first 3 after that were all from the first invitation I thought would be 1 volume. But there was so much stuff, it wound up being 3 volumes. That's one of the reasons why they all came out a couple of months apart, because, let's get some foundation so you could say, hey, yeah, these things are around. But, that was a learning curve for me.
That was my first anthology invitation.
There you go.
That will always be it. My first one was Soul Scream and Chris.
It was, again, the secret is that I just talk to people. And as I'm talking to them, I start realizing I'd like to see whether they'd be interested. There was a person at Soul Scream, excuse me, at StokerCon. I was waiting for a panel to start. So there were a couple of comfy chairs every once in a while. And I sat there, and this guy sat next to me, and we started talking. And I didn't ask for his background. I asked for what he wrote. So he was talking, and he was saying, I have this thing I'm looking for. And when I said, well, what are you talking about? And he started pitching it, I realized it was perfect for Fear and Loathing. When he sent his little bio, holy crap, this guy he had done so many things, but that's not what drives me. It's personality. It's the creative vibe. It's what drew me to Alex 100 years ago.
And he can't get away from me now because
Well,
I'm
I actually
on
got
to him.
assigned. I got assigned to Alex. Alex, I always forget her name.
Barlow.
Barbara Barlow. My brother lived in the same building as Barbara,
Oh, God.
and he thought I wasn't doing enough with my life when I came back from college. He says, "You should go over there and help them," And
Community
Alex,
theater group for kids.
right? Yeah, Alex, I didn't know yet, but he was working with Barbara and a few others. They would literally take kids off Bronx streets and teach them theater skills. So I got a meeting with Barbara Barlow, and she was not impressed. She wasn't. She couldn't wait to get me out of the office. That kind of got my Bronx up. And I said, "Well, what do you have a lot of props? What do you have a lot of props of?" And she said, "We just got this big chest of hats we don't know what to do with." And I looked in the, hats a little bit. I said, "Okay." And this was like a Thursday or Friday. And that Monday I came back with Billy Wizard and the Evil Eye. And it was all these kids put these hats on and they become different people. And the chalkboard became a monster and they had to defeat the Evil Eye and all that stuff. And Alex, you directed that, right?
Yeah.
So he gets the assignment, never met me. And then that's how we started working together because Barbara wasn't impressed.
No, you were challenged and you rose to it.
Yeah, well, it's like you were saying before, take every thing that comes your way as an assignment or as an opportunity,
Yep.
right? To be
By the way,
creative.
that was 1988.
Yeah, bro. I don't even know if Rebecca Cuthbert was on the planet in
I
1988.
was in elementary school,
Oh,
but
there
I
you go.
existed.
I feel a little better, just
Yeah.
a little bit.
You know what, guys? We're going to have to bring it to a close momentarily. And I just wanted to say, hey, great conversation. Rebecca, is there anything you want to share, speak on, Ryan,
Tell people
Yes,
look out for it.
buys or
yes.
what?
I have a book coming out in October.
Yes.
Ooh.
Undertaker Books is putting it out. It is a collection of ghost stories.
Ooh.
Can we speak about getting to do whatever we want?
Yeah, good. Speak about it.
So my press is putting it out. I thought it would be fun to have like my buddy John write the foreword and the 13th story. So it's like 12 stories by me, but one story by John, and he wrote the foreword. And then a friend of mine has this amazing daughter who writes like she's 25. She is not. And she wrote this amazing poem. And it was so creepy. And I was like, can I put that in my book? And so Beatrice Sheehan wrote this very creepy poem that opens things up in the Hauntings Back Home.
Ooh.
I'm sorry, but HarperCollins would not let me invite my friend to participate and my friend's daughter to contribute a poem. Like those are things that only happen at small presses.
Yeah.
So anywho, the Hauntings Back Home is going to be out in October, and I'm so excited about it. And we're doing the full cover reveal tomorrow.
Oh.
So look for that soon. Ruth Anna Evans did the cover, and I love it. It's tied for my favorite cover now.
Send a copy to us and we can pop it into this.
Thank you. I would love that.
Yeah, because this is going to come out after tomorrow, so you'll publish it first or you'll post it first. But
yeah.
So
So
anyway,
is
is that what you wanted to say,
right
or is there more?
I think that's it for now.
And what's the title of the ghost book again?
The Hauntings Back Home.
And what day in October?
18th.
October 18th. In
thought,
time for Halloween.
Mhm.
Excellent.
Hauntings Back.
I love the flexibility there. I'm a big John Gensler fan. I want to work with him again. I think I gave him the wrong impression recently. Well, within the last year. I have published one story, and I thought I'd get a rewrite on a second story, but sometimes communication isn't 100%. So hopefully I'll get another chance at him.
I'm trying to talk him into another project with me too. So
Cool.
we'll
He's a cool
see.
guy.
He's
Yeah.
getting a full dance card.
That's
His writing
okay.
is
That's
so
good
great.
news.
Yeah,
That's good news. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's very cool. All right, Rebecca, it is always a pleasure. Again, I just love having a conversation and wherever it takes. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you were able to pick up some stuff that will help you. That's why we're here at Tell the Damn Story. Check out Rebecca Cuthbert on Facebook, social media, and Undertaker Books. Go and check out their website. Great stuff. And you're going to have a lot of fun, and you learn how to tell your own damn story too. So
Right. Oh, and hit that and subscribe so that you can come back, and every time we're doing something wonderful with wonderful people like this, you'll be there.
there you go. Well done, sir.
Take
Thank
care,
you guys
everybody.
so much.
Peace. Take care.